Hello, third graders. Welcome back. I know that you've been working on your drafts and your revisions of your informational pieces, and I thought it might be a good time for us to do a little check-in to see how it's going. So if you have your writing piece near you, you might want to grab it, and if not, you want to get it into your head, and we're going to do a little bit of a self-check. So if you see something on this checklist that you've done, if you can give yourself a thumbs up, pat on the back, a high five. That's what I'd like you to do this self-check. Because informational writers, we work really hard to bring our writing to life. So first of all, have you included a vignette or a small story to illustrate a bit of information? Just telling a little bitty story to show some aspect of your topic. 2, after you mentioned a fact, have you said a bit more about that fact? So instead of just like listing facts, like taking one fact and just adding on and saying more about it. 3, have you taken something and then described that one thing with lots of details? And then 4, have you compared something that might be unfamiliar to your readers with something that might be familiar? Like comparing the size of the animal that you're discussing with the size of like a school bus or something like that. Okay, so hopefully you've given yourself a thumb up or a high five or a pat on the back about at least one thing. If you haven't, you might want to make a mental note. What is something that you can try to do soon, today, to revise your piece to make it even more coming to life for your readers? I think now we're ready to think about yet another way to make our pieces stronger. And that is that informational writers don't just get everything that's in their head and that's how they write their books. They look elsewhere. So today, what I want to teach you is that writers don't just write all this stuff from inside their brains. Writers are also researchers. Writers often leave our writing, leave our page, and then we go off and we search for the perfect fact or the perfect example that we can use in our writing. So I thought we could start by thinking about what are some possible resources I could use to research my topic. So here are some resources that you might consider using to research your topic a little bit more. You don't need to use all of them. You might only use one of them, or you might use a few of them. Observation is a great one. So especially if you're writing about a topic that you're close to, physically close to right now, like maybe you're writing about little brothers and you have a little brother, and so you can go and observe. 2, you might think about interviewing somebody. So that's going and asking questions of an expert or somebody who has some experience on this topic. You could also consider looking at books and articles. I think that's what a lot of us think about when we think about research, and it is great to go there. So finding some books, if you have them handy, or even digital books or articles that you can look at that could give you additional information. You could also consider documentary video. There's a lot of great sources of videos by kid-friendly video makers like National Geographic for Kids and Time for Kids that might have information that you could use in your piece that you could research. You could also use a kid-safe search engine that your teacher has recommended to you and do a quick internet search to get information. You could also look at photographs or realistic drawings and study them to pick up information or examples that you can use in your writing. And finally, you can look at visual sources of information like maps, timelines, graphs, or charts as a way to get more information that you can use in your writing. So there's a lot of different things that you can think of. And I started thinking for myself, like, I could do an interview. Like I could go and I could interview, maybe like I could call somebody, interview like an exterminator, or interview another New Yorker who has experience with cockroaches. Or I could go and do those online searches. I have a few books on my shelf about cockroaches. But the thing that I want to model for you today is something that happened to me a couple of days ago. I was in my kitchen cooking dinner, and I looked over and I saw something and I snapped a picture. And I haven't really gotten a chance to study the picture so much. I just snapped it. But I thought this would be a good time. I could research the picture and use the information I get from the picture to help make my writing stronger. So let's take a look. So while I was cooking dinner, I turned around and I saw this. I immediately thought of you all. I think you can figure out why. Because there in my pantry was a cockroach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my notebook and I'm going to take some notes on this picture that I haven't really studied that closely yet. And I'm just going to think about ways that I could maybe include what I'm learning in the writing piece. And you might want to try this along with me. So one of the things I'm going to jot down is that the place is the pantry. I'm also noticing the color. Are you noticing that too? It's like a dark brown with some sort of like tan sections. And some parts are darker and some parts are lighter, which I don't think I'd ever realized that before. And then, do you see what I see? One of the strangest things to me is seeing all those little hairs on the legs. Are you all seeing that? I knew that, but it's weird to see that like right there in my pantry. And then also take a look at those antennae. Not only they're long and skinny, but I feel like they are almost as long as the cockroach's whole entire body. Wow. I could keep going, but I think you get what I'm doing. I'm studying this photograph to get some researched information that I could use in my writing. So, writers, when you go off to write today, there's all kinds of things you can do. You can think of ways to bring life to your writing, like vignettes and adding facts and details. Another thing that you could consider doing is leaving the page for a few minutes and going off and doing some research. Whether that research is through an interview or reading something or looking closely and studying and observing something or a photograph of something, there's plenty of ways to get more information outside of your brain. I hope you give this a try, and good luck with your writing today.